is Singapore too crowded? Are the trains too much of a squeeze? Is going to shopping centres a nightmare?
Yeah, long queues everywhere.
Okay, we and our experts are going to look at what the average Singaporean on the street is saying about these things. Do you think that Singapore is getting too crowded for you?
Actually no lah. On the road maybe lah. Too many cars on the road. Even at night, 11 or 12, you go through the highway, it's still very packed with cars.
Presently, yes, some area upgrading and widening of the road. Yes, some jam there. But compared to other places, to be quite good. Compared to Jakarta or Thailand, I think here is still better.
What do you feel about the conditions, the crowdedness of MRTs or buses and all that? Do you feel that it's too crowded in those places?
I think buses sometimes are too crowded. MRTs will be good.
Do you have any problems about crowdedness on public transport, like MRT or buses and all that?
Definitely. If you're talking about early in the morning when you rush with the work crowd, you see people literally sticking onto the doors.
Very cramped and it's very hot and hard to breathe at sometimes.
There's so many cars on the road these days, and the courtesy level in the public transport era is becoming from bad to worse. Because I don't drive and I don't like to drive. I don't want to learn driving, but this is pushing me towards learning driving.
I see you ride a motorbike, yeah? So how do you feel like as a motorcyclist on the roads?
Compared to previous, right? Now it's too much more dangerous because of too much of vehicles on the roads.
I go to town, I see that people are not really worrying about the economic crisis. The queues are still very long and a lot of people are still buying a lot of stuff.
If let's say you're talking about eating or what, sometimes you have to queue very long.
你来新加坡多久了？1年多，快2年。那你会不会觉得新加坡是越来越挤？
可能咯，现在新移民越来越多嘛，所以可能我觉得政府设施有的地方需要改善了，就是商场比方都很挤，而且我觉得现在空调不够凉，很热。
Okay, so these are the grouses, huh?
Yeah, we hear them.
Yeah.
So, following up on going out, so Singaporeans are going out, but they don't seem to be quite happy with the way things are going where out is. Geraldine is lost for words.
No,
you think so?
I personal opinion, I always find that Singaporeans put things in a very complaining manner. Don't you think so?
Always complaining.
They see the very negative side of things. So again, we are back to this perception. Is it really that bad? Or are they just finding something else to grouse about again and feel disgruntled
about? Geraldine,
about?
I think one aspect is a lot said about public transport. I think we need to improve on that. Buses, I think a lot of people know is not good enough. MRT, I think beside the interval I was talking about, there are just enough stations. I stayed in London for many years. The stations are so close. Practically, I myself and all my bosses during my working years there took MRT. No bosses drive cars to their offices. So I think when we reach a population of 6.5 million, we have to reach that stage, like London and New York, where nobody drives.
But you also need to look at the quality and how to manage that, because
it's a perception. I try to be psychologist.
We
We all think that driving car is a status symbol. We must change that attitude, okay, so that the city will be less polluted and our carbon footprints can go down. Our carbon emission, CO2 emission, is one of the highest in the world, almost next to USA, beside Middle East country. China, say what you like, in Shanghai, it's only 3.8 tons, metric ton per capita. Singapore is 12.2, US is 20. So we must do a lot to cut down the car, or in future we should encourage electric and hydrogen powered car. Rely more on public transport. And then I think a lot of grouses that we hear from the public, that aspect can be managed.
But in order to do that, you see, they need to consider, the government needs to think about how to manage these people's discomfort. In the morning, it's so squeezy and everything. Okay, but what are they really worried about? Maybe the female is worried about, people brushing onto them. And in Tokyo, you have carriages for female only. Yeah, and only female, you're queuing up there and you go like, there's no man. Then you look at the bottom, it's for female only. There are carriages that have cooler aircon, carriages that have not so cold, carriages for mothers and strollers, So you're managing the expectations, you're managing the comfort level. Yeah, and if you really want people to, take the public transport, that's exactly what you need to do.
But I think in Tokyo, they also push people in with their whatever.
Yeah.
So you think it's an issue of public transport?
Well, if you think about Tokyo and think about Hong Kong, I think the situation is much worse now. I mean, if you take a train in Hong Kong,
London and New York is not much better.
Yeah.
If you want it to be metropolitan city, this is the thing you have to live with. I mean, if Singaporeans who have travelled abroad, they will never complain our MRT is crowded. We are one of the best MRT system, I tell you, in the world, in terms of crowdedness.
Exactly, yeah. It's interesting because when people talk about living in a city, this is part of the vibrancy, but yet we're also complaining about that. But I think there's also an issue about time, because if you think about the train, it's not crowded all the time.
Yes.
So it's during the peak hours. So I think
staggering working hours, manage the office
so
hours.
We've been talking
is also
about that for a long time, but
Yeah.
nothing seems to be really happening. But I think staggering work hours, that might be one way, at least in a medium or short term, to sort of solve this problem.
So we've looked at public transport, right now. I mean, briefly, and we've looked at going out to shopping centres and all that. What other areas of life would be?
So let's look at jobs and education.
Well, number one, also on Singaporeans' minds,